Good morning and happy Friday, everybody. How are you today, neighbor? I've got my Mr. Rogers sweater on today, and I hope that everybody's migraines are feeling better, that your STEM nights went really well, and that whatever was ailing you, that you weren't able to make class last night, I hope all is well. We had a really good class, a lot of small groups and a lot of collaboration, so look forward to the next face-to-face. But in case you weren't there, here's what we did yesterday. Of course, we started with our normal petals and thorns. People shared some of the things that are going well. Things are starting to come along. People are understanding the workflow much better now. So I'm excited to hear and I'm excited to read what's been put into the HyperDocs. So along those lines, we are still not getting notifications that things are being turned in through Schoology. So we're doing the best we can to keep on top of everything being turned in since everybody's at a different place. So we'll continue to our best. Please continue to do the pre-assessments because that triggers a notification that we do receive that you're working on a module. So it allows us to mark that down so that we know that to kind of open up that HyperDoc and give you the feedback once you start doing it. Let's see. I got mine in my notes. We're using the real-time feedback model with that. So if you, some of the teachers in the class were saying they are not getting notifications that comments have been left in the HyperDoc. I'll investigate that. If you are not getting comments via your email saying that a comment has been left, just shoot me an email, let me know, because I'll try to figure out why that's happening. That should not be happening. Also, when you do turn in your HyperDoc with the copy to the lesson plan you created, please make sure that you have marked your lesson plan that it is at least we're able to comment or at least edit. A couple times the lesson plans were view only, which is fine, but we do want to leave some comments for you because this is about collaboration and exchanging of ideas. It's a non-evaluative submission, so it's just to get ideas. So if we can't leave those comments, it makes it hard since we're only meeting every other week. So hopefully things are going better for that. So we did the station rotation model with the whole group. So I'm just clicking through here. So here's some of the things we talked about. We talked about how to get students engaged in playlists. And some of the ideas we talked about as a whole group last night was to mix it up. Not always use a playlist. Try a different model. Like most human beings, if they're doing the same routine, it becomes exactly that, becomes routine. So try mixing up the different models when appropriate. You can also look into the how to select a blended model module to get some ideas on how to determine what model might be best for your classroom situation. The other thing that we talked about was the importance of developing those relationships. For example, if you know a certain student might be especially fond of certain activities or certain sports teams or certain singers, trying to incorporate some of that into the playlist somehow or thematically might also engage that student to want to work through that playlist because they're engaged by the topic or the theme. So we had some one-on-one discussions about that. Too much to go into right now, but certainly shoot me an email if you want to bounce ideas together and we can kind of talk about that as well. Remember, we are trying to fit the model to the students' needs, not try to fit the students to the model that we want to do. Also, there was concern about administration and doing observations with blended learning. All administrators have been invited to take a blended learning class, but I can't say who and who has not participated in it. That's definitely something you want to talk about in your pre-observation conference and as well as your post-observation conference to kind of get that communication about what you're trying to do. Almost all administrators, if you say, hey, I'm taking a risk here instructionally, I'm trying to grow, I'm trying to stretch myself, they're definitely going to make sure that they're taking that into account. And we talked about the importance of the informal conversations. That was brought up in the discussion a lot. That was from the book. So a lot of the discussion talked about how we can make that happen. One of the suggestions was to talk to your administrator directly and say, hey, can we do this? And it's always good to go to the administrator because a lot of administrators are very open about what the teacher's needs are. So that's definitely a good step to start with. So Cindy shared a leaderboard. So what we're trying to do is encourage participation in the discussion boards. Remember, a rule of thumb is you want to post your initial response to the discussion board and then respond to at least 4 classmates. So that's technically about 5 discussion posts. that would have been from the first discussion that we just finished. So as you can see here, this graph kind of represents that, a lot of people did exactly what they're supposed to do. They did the initial post plus the 4 additional posts. We do have some high flyers. Somebody actually did 10, which is good because we do want to encourage conversation. Again, we're not meeting face to face, so that this discussion board becomes the avenue from which we can discuss our thoughts and ideas about what we're reading in the book, as well as other ideas on how to apply it in the classroom. So please, there's a new discussion that's been posted in Schoology, which I'll show you in just a second. Do pay attention to the minimum number of posts for each week so that you can make it, because we have something new called badges. And badges are, I'll show you my badges here. If you click on your name in Schoology and click on your profile, when you complete a HyperDoc and you complete the post assessment and you turn it in through Schoology, you keep in mind we're not getting the notification, so there might be a delay, but we're doing our best to keep on top of that. We have a badge for every module that you complete. So once you complete it and you've thoroughly participated in the HyperDoc exchange of comments and ideas, you will receive a badge for that particular HyperDoc. Just to kind of show you where they're, we have, let's see, where is it? Badges for everybody. So we got all the way across the board. These are the tech ones. There's ones for the different models and so on and so on. So it's something to definitely kind of watch out for and see when they pop up. And if something isn't showing up and you thought you completed, just let me know. And one other thing is awarding a badge for students completing something is also very motivating. So that can also play into the question of how to motivate and engage students. I know pretty much nobody uses Schoology in the class, but you can always do a badging by creating them in Google Drawing and then printing it out and putting it on a piece of chart paper, or there's some other way. Lots of ideas on Teachers Pay Teachers, or even Pinterest. There's tons of ideas out there. And if you want some ideas, shoot me an email, I'll let you know what I think, but it might be better to post it up in the discussion board as well, which is something that we might want to start doing as well. So here's our tip for the week. So there are 3 different models of how to manage some of your blended learning groupings within the classroom. There's a non-tech clip-in method. This is just a blog article that most elementary teachers are probably very familiar with, where you use a clothespin with the student's name on it. You have something like they see here, the task or the station that they're going to be in, and then you can either put their clip where you want them to be, or if you've been doing this a while and the students have the agency, they pick their clip and then they put it where they're going to be working today. They self-select that. There is a flip chart here. Let me just download that real quick. Now you do need to open this up in ActivInspire, so you'll have to be on a school computer. This won't open on a Chromebook. This is done by a pre-K teacher, and it's just a simple example of how this teacher manages her station rotations. Simply, as you can see here, it's kind of big. Let me shrink this just a wee bit here. So she puts her students' names, types them into the page in ActivInspire, and then this is rotation number 1. She goes to the next page. This is where they go. So she's obviously had to onboard this, and she's been working with her students for a while. So this routine is well established. So for our pre-K teachers there and our primary grade levels, this might be something that as you work with the onboarding process, that you may not want to start with 3 different rotations. You might want to start with just 1 to get them used to seeing and finding their name and finding their physical space in the classroom, and then gradually add more to it. And then finally, something that we're going to do, which I really hope that you can do at home in the next couple days, because it would really help us, is we're using a Google Drawing, and you can see here's our class workflow, where at the top we're doing our self-paced module. That's either an offline or an online task that leads into our collaborative work session. Then we try some new instruction with students in the classroom, and then finally we follow up in our face-to-face meeting. So we have that reflection. What we've done is we put a card for each one of you in these colored boxes, and if you double click the card, I'm going to use Mike as my example, and I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit here. So it says Mike is working on reflecting, so we just double click on the little card, and you can just type in what you're actually doing. So Mike has already taught. He's working on doing his reflection, so he just moves it all the way down here to the collaborative reflection section. We can see that those who were here last night, most of us were working and collaborating on creating a new lesson plan. So it was in class flip, different station rotation, real-time feedback, so quite a variety. And so we had a very good discussion because we're working in pairs and in triads. And so what's going to happen now is, now that these teachers have met, the goal is for them to be working on trying it out in the classroom at least one time. And then the expectation will be that they will complete the offline reflection between now and our next face-to-face class. And then they will come to the class next time and be ready to do the collaborative reflection. So there's about 2 weeks for that to happen. If you need any help or you're lost or confused, just send me an email. But that is the expectation for those that were working on the collaborative planning session, is to try it out in the classroom. We did have a question about someone who did one of the modules but wants to iterate or do it again. That is certainly definitely something you can do. So what we'll do is you can actually unsubmit the hyperdoc that you have been working on, and if you've submitted it through Schoology, because it is not a graded assessment, it will still have the unsubmit button, which I can't show you unfortunately right here because I'm logged in as the instructor. But if you go back to the let me just find one. Okay, so there will be an unsubmit button that you can also click on the Google Doc that will make it editable again, because once you submit it, it won't be editable, and you can't unsubmit it once it's graded. But again, we're not grading it, we're just giving feedback, so you'll always be able to take it back, add more to it along the sides under the Your Tasks section. So just add more. Try maybe using a different font color. That would be great, because then it'll be easier to see the new ideas and the new experiences from the original experience. Okay. So all of these links are in the course under the class materials folder, which is at the top of the course. So you click on class materials. Here's our materials from the 3-7 class. The slideshow that you've been seeing in the screencast. This is the ActiveInspire link to the ActiveInspire document. This is the Google drawing for the self-selection. If you would please indicate what you're working on between now and the next face-to-face class, because we are going to use this to help us track where we are, since a lot of the Schoology notifications are not working right now. And then this is the article about what the teacher did with the clip-ins. So that's what. And so then what we did was we just spent the rest of the class. We had a good 75 minutes to work, and it was very good. So hopefully you're recovered and you'll be able to get your work going and taught in the classroom. So what's next for the next face-to-face class? You do want to read chapters 3 through 6. Continue working through your modules. If you did the reflection already, then you would want to either continue iterating through that to kind of improve on your experience, or maybe choose a different module. Again, there's two sides to this coin. There is this modules that we're using to try to help you, encourage you to try some blended techniques in your classroom, and there's also the other side of the coin, which is the discussion. So please remember to do the discussion on the course web page on the course Schoology site, which of course is the orange folder here for the Power Up discussion boards, chapters 3 through 6. Please read through all of this. There are 3 questions, so to try to facilitate more dialogue back and forth, what we do is we're going to ask that you post a response to each of these questions individually. And that would mean that for this week, what we're going to do is there's going to be the 3 initial postings, which is your answer to the question, and then 3 postings, 3 postings to each of those questions for somebody else, which would be a total of 12 posts for this week. So this is the initial postings are due on the 17th, so we got about a week. And then all of it will be done, what's the due date? March 28th, by the end of March 28th. So this is set to expire on just before midnight. So again, if you have any questions, just let us know. If you're still lost and you need some help, just the rule of thumb is this is completely, the modules are based on your choice and what you want to do. There's no, I must do this. The only request is that if you continue to move through this workflow, so if you're doing a lesson plan, go ahead and teach it and then come back to face-to-face to discuss it. So hopefully that clears that up. I know this was a little bit long, but I was trying to compress about 50 minutes worth of whole group time into, I guess I'm up to 15 minutes now. So hopefully this helps, and any questions, just let me know.